There's a reason your life hasn't changed yet, and it's not because you're lazy or broken or unworthy. It's because you've been waiting on motivation to save you. You've been chasing highs, the right video, the perfect quote, the temporary spark, hoping one of them would finally flip the switch. But that switch isn't flipped by feelings. It's flipped by fire. Not the kind that flashes and dies, but the kind that burns quietly, daily, consistently. The kind that doesn't care whether you're inspired or exhausted. That fire is called discipline. You've been lied to, not out of cruelty, but out of comfort. Society told you that if you just wanted it bad enough, everything would fall into place. But wanting isn't working. Wanting isn't winning. Wanting without discipline is just dreaming. And dreams without structure become regrets. Motivation gets you to the starting line, but only discipline gets you across the finish. Because motivation is emotion, and emotions change. Discipline is commitment, and commitment transforms. When life punches you in the face, motivation won't get out of bed, but discipline will. When it's cold and dark and your heart's not in it, discipline shows up anyway. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it doesn't post on social media, but it moves you forward, one imperfect step at a time. That's the truth no one wants to tell you. Discipline is not exciting, it's not sexy, but it is everything. If you want to change your life, stop chasing what feels good and start building what stays. Discipline doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if it's raining, if your back hurts, or if your mood is off. It doesn't wait for your alarm to feel inspiring or your schedule to feel light. Discipline just shows up, whether you're ready or not. And that's exactly why it works. While motivation plays dress up in quotes and YouTube montages, discipline wears no mask. It doesn't beg for your excitement. It demands your action. There's no applause when you choose to rise at 5 a.m. No one throws a party because you said no to the distraction, no to the comfort, no to the easy out. But that's where the real shift happens. In silence, in repetition, in those moments when you do what's right without needing to feel right. You stop being someone who acts only when inspired, and you become someone who acts because it's required. The world romanticizes motivation, but the life you want isn't built by excitement. It's built by execution. You don't become the person you've been dreaming of by waiting for the perfect wave of emotion. You become that person by doing the work, especially on the days you don't want to. That's where the transformation hides. That's where the next level lives. Not in sparks, in systems, not in moods, in movement. Discipline is quiet, but it's undefeated. The real problem isn't that you don't have goals. It's that you've built your life around your feelings. You start something with fire in your chest, heart racing with excitement, telling yourself, this time it's different. But then the spark fades, the initial high dies out, the results don't come fast enough, and suddenly, the thing you once swore mattered more than anything is just another abandoned promise, another unfinished chapter. Because we've been trained to believe that we should only act when we feel like it, that if the emotion's not there, the effort isn't worth it. And that mindset is why most people stay stuck. We glorify the beginning. We idolize the launch. But the ones who win, the ones who actually build something lasting, are the ones who master the middle, the part where no one's watching, the part where nothing is exciting, the part where it's hard and dry and quiet. Where you show up to the gym and no one claps, where you open the laptop and stare at a blank screen, where you push forward without proof that it's working yet, simply because you said you would. Look at anyone you admire, a world-class athlete, a successful entrepreneur, an artist, a leader, a builder. None of them made it because they felt motivated every day. They made it because they trained themselves to keep moving through boredom, through exhaustion, through doubt. Discipline became their language. Repetition became their compass. That's the line in the sand. That's what separates the tourists from the warriors, the ones who visit their goals when they feel good, from the ones who live inside their purpose, even when it hurts. The world doesn't belong to the most excited. It belongs to the most committed. And commitment doesn't ask how you feel. It asks who you're becoming. You've been blaming the wrong things. You think the reason you're stuck is procrastination. That if you could just stop scrolling, just stop avoiding, you'd be where you want to be, or maybe you've labeled it laziness. You've called yourself unmotivated, undisciplined, weak. Some days you think it's fear, fear of failing, fear of success, fear of being seen, but none of those are your true enemy. Your biggest threat? Inconsistency. The habit of showing up when it's easy, then disappearing when it's not. The pattern of taking 2 steps forward, then ghosting your own progress. It's the story you keep telling yourself. I'll start again on Monday. I'll be ready once I figured things out. I just need to feel better first. But here's the truth most people never admit. You're not waiting to be ready. You're waiting to feel like it. And those feelings, they're not coming. Not the way you think they will. Because later is seductive. Later feels safe. Later makes promises it never intends to keep. Later is a thief that steals your future, one comfortable excuse at a time. Consistency isn't glamorous. It doesn't look good in highlight reels, but it's what builds everything worthwhile. It's what compounds effort into mastery. It's what transforms scattered attempts into unshakable identity. When you train yourself to take action regardless of how you feel, when you stop letting your emotions vote on your behavior, you become something rare. You become someone reliable, and reliability beats brilliance every single time. The power you're looking for doesn't live in the next book or the next plan. It lives in your ability to act now, without waiting to feel perfect. Train that reflex, build that standard, let the world be emotional, let them wait on clarity. But you move, you commit, you finish. That's how the unstoppable are built, one non-negotiable step at a time. Most people hear the word discipline and immediately feel trapped. They think it means restriction, rules, a loss of freedom. They imagine a life of sacrifice, of rigid schedules and joyless routines. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Discipline doesn't lock you up. It sets you free. It frees you from the exhausting weight of indecision. It frees you from the emotional roller coaster of waiting to feel ready. It frees you from the chaos of living in reaction to everything around you. Motivation is unreliable. One moment you're on fire, the next you're stuck in doubt. You ride highs and crash into lows. You make big promises at night, only to break them in the morning. But discipline is steady. It's calm. It's rooted. It doesn't care what time it is or how tired you feel or whether or not the world is cheering you on. It just does what needs to be done. And when you start living with that kind of consistency, something shifts inside you. You don't need to hype yourself up every morning. You don't need to battle your own excuses. You just move automatically, reliably, not because it's easy, but because it's who you've become. Discipline builds routines, and those routines create rhythm. That rhythm becomes momentum. And that momentum, that daily forward motion, is what creates freedom. You're no longer a slave to your moods. You're no longer lost in overthinking. You don't sit around asking, should I go to the gym? Should I work today? Should I keep going? You already know. It's not a question. It's a standard. And that's the real secret. Discipline isn't about doing more. It's about deciding once and following through forever. No noise, no drama, just quiet, committed progress. That's not a cage. That's power. That's freedom. Most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail because they stop. They get close, then pull back. They start, then stall. They step forward, then retreat the moment things get uncomfortable. And that's the real gap. Not between the successful and the unsuccessful, but between those who stay and those who stop. Everyone wants the dream. Few are willing to carry the weight of discipline long enough to make it real. Discipline doesn't show up when it's easy. It doesn't get built during convenient days or when the weather's perfect. It's born in the grind, in the mornings when the alarm rings and your entire body screams, no. It's born in the lonely hours, when no one is watching, when there's no reward in sight, when you're operating purely off your own standard, not someone else's praise. It's in the workouts when your legs are shaking, in the writing when the words won't come, in the business building when the results are silent. That's where discipline is forged. Discomfort isn't the enemy, it's the entry fee. Everyone wants resilience, but few want the resistance that creates it. You don't build grit by cruising. You build it like a muscle, through tension, through failure, through showing up when it hurts. You earn confidence by walking straight into the discomfort and deciding, I'm not leaving just because it's heavy. That's what separates those who talk about success from those who live inside it. The people you admire have one thing in common. They didn't quit when it got hard. They built their future in the same moments most people checked out. They endured long enough for their work to compound. They showed up on the days they didn't want to. And that consistency became identity. That identity became a legacy. So if you're in discomfort, good. That means you're in the right place. That means you're not coasting. That means you're not average. Because average taps out when it's no longer fun. But greatness is carved in the moments when you push through the resistance. When you don't stop just because it's inconvenient. Discipline doesn't just ask you to stay when it's hard. It invites you to rise. especially when it is. And if you can answer that call again and again, you don't just reach your goals, you become someone worthy of them. That's where legacy begins. They'll talk. They always do. The moment you start moving different, waking up earlier, saying no to distractions, choosing focus over fun, people will whisper. They'll say you've changed, that you're too obsessed, too intense, too serious. But understand this, obsession is just what discipline looks like to people who have none. What they call extreme is simply consistency they don't have the courage to commit to. What they mock in you is what they're avoiding in themselves. Responsibility. Because the moment you get consistent, the excuses disappear. And most people aren't ready to lose those excuses. They need them. They rely on them to justify why they aren't where they want to be. But discipline doesn't leave room for hiding. It demands you step into the light, not when you feel ready, but now. Not when it's easy, but especially when it's not. Discipline doesn't ask for perfection. It doesn't care if you mess up, if you fail, if you fall behind. What it demands is that you keep showing up, that you don't ghost your own potential, that you don't flirt with greatness and then walk away when it asks for effort. Show up tired, show up uncertain, show up imperfect. Just show up. That's the game. Not to be flawless, but to be present, to be engaged, to be in the arena, while others sit in the crowd with opinions and comfort. Because while they're commenting, you're committing. While they're hesitating, you're executing. And in the end, when the results start to speak, the same voices that doubted you will go quiet. Not because they've changed their minds, but because your discipline did what their opinions never could. Build something real. Discipline doesn't mean trying to grip every piece of your life with white knuckles. It doesn't mean micromanaging every second, every outcome, every emotion. It's not about perfection or obsession with control. It's about focus, controlling what you can and letting the rest go. You can't always control the outcome. You can't guarantee that your work will go viral, that your effort will be recognized, or that your timing will be perfect. But you can control your wake-up time. You can control your daily habits, your inputs, your energy, your effort, and that's more than enough. Discipline isn't rigid, it's responsive. It teaches you to stop chasing certainty and start owning your actions. When the plan fails, you adjust. When life hits, you adapt. But you don't stop. You don't fold. You don't disappear. Because your discipline isn't tied to circumstances. It's tied to your character. That's what makes it powerful. You can't force your results, but you can force your repetitions. You can control whether you show up or make excuses, whether you train or skip, whether you scroll or build. And every time you choose action, no matter how small, you're strengthening the one thing that will carry you through anything. Your ability to move forward on command, not emotion. Discipline is what gets you out of bed after failure. It's what makes you stretch when you feel stiff, read when your mind's tired, or keep going when no one's watching. Motivation won't be there in those moments. It flakes, it fades. But discipline? Discipline shows up quietly, consistently, relentlessly. That's why it's the key. Not because it guarantees you'll never fall, but because it guarantees you'll rise every time you do. Stop waiting to feel ready. That moment you're hoping for, the one where everything aligns, where the fear vanishes, where motivation kicks in and carries you, it's a myth. You don't need another spark. You don't need another sign. You need to become reliable. The kind of person who does what they say they will, long after the mood they set it in has faded. The kind of person who doesn't wait for the perfect morning, the perfect mindset, or the perfect plan. They just move. Most people spend their lives negotiating with weakness. I'm tired, I'll skip today. I don't feel it, I'll try again tomorrow. But every time you negotiate with your lesser self, you reinforce the version of you that stays stuck. Growth doesn't happen by agreeing with comfort. It happens when you choose discipline over delay, again and again, until there's no longer a conversation, just action. Your identity has to evolve. You have to stop being someone who gets motivated and start being someone who moves regardless. Motivation is an invitation. Discipline is a decision. And once you become the kind of person who doesn't wait to feel good to do what's right, everything starts to shift. Not because the path gets easier, but because you become stronger. The real transformation isn't when your body changes, your income increases, or your life looks different. It's when you no longer need to be pushed, when you push yourself. When your standards get so high, your habits rise to match. That's when life bends in your direction, not because you manipulated the world, but because you mastered yourself. You don't need hype. You don't need applause. You need one thing: Consistency of character. Be who you said you'd be. Show up when it's boring. Follow through when no one's watching. Do that long enough, and soon the world won't ask if you're ready. They'll know you're reliable. Even with all the discipline in the world, you will still fall. You'll still stumble into days where your plans unravel, where your energy feels drained, where you mess up, slip up, or miss the mark. But here's the difference. Now you won't stay down. You won't spiral. You won't use failure as a reason to quit. Because discipline doesn't just teach you how to perform. It teaches you how to recover. It gives you a mental reflex, a bounce-back instinct, a quiet resilience that whispers, "Get up, we're not done yet." Discipline makes you emotionally bulletproof, not numb, not invincible, but anchored. Life can push against you, but it won't knock you out. You don't panic when things fall apart because you've built yourself in the hard places. You've trained under pressure. You've built calluses where others carry wounds. You've turned pain into pattern. You've learned that falling isn't failure. Staying down is. The more you live with discipline, the more you stop expecting things to be easy. You stop craving comfort and start respecting resistance, because you know that resistance is where strength is built. When you face setbacks, you don't ask, "Why me?" You ask, "What now?" You don't break, you bend, adapt, adjust. You're not immune to struggle, but you're trained to push through it. You become humble because you failed enough times to know you're not above it. You become hungry because each setback reminds you how much you still want to grow. And you become hardened, not in a bitter way, but in a way that nothing petty can shake you. You've built armor through action. You've built character through consistency. And every time you rise, even if it's slow, even if it's messy, you get one step closer to the version of you that's been waiting. The version that doesn't flinch, the version that doesn't fold, the version that knows how to weather storms without losing direction. That version of you, they're not built on perfect days. They're built in the rebound, in the reset, in the refusal to stay down. That's the real power of discipline, not just what it gets you, but what it makes of you. You don't just build results, you build resilience, and resilience makes you unstoppable. Listen to this daily. It's not for a dose of motivation, but for something far more important, reminders. Because motivation fades, hype wears off, but reminders rewire. They root you in who you are becoming. They pull you back when the world tries to distract you. They keep your fire alive on the days it flickers. You don't need another speech to feel good. You need a reminder of your discipline, your commitment, your standard. You need to remember why you started and who you promised to become. The truth is, this path won't always feel good. It won't always look pretty. It's going to get messy. There will be setbacks. There will be silence. There will be days you question everything. But if you keep choosing the harder right, the choice that demands effort, the one that aligns with your values, the one that stretches you instead of sedating you, then every one of those decisions starts to build something powerful inside you. Self-respect. Self-respect isn't about arrogance. It's about trust. It's knowing deep down that you keep your word, that when you say you'll do something, you do it. Not just once, not just when it's convenient, but always. And when that respect stacks day after day, it forms a foundation no setback can shake. You stop crumbling when life hits, because your inner voice isn't full of doubt. It's full of proof. Proof that you follow through. Proof that you are who you say you are. That's why this message matters. Not to inspire you, but to remind you. You already have the fire. You already have the strength. You just need to remember. Daily. Until it's not something you listen to. It's something you live. Your future is watching. Not judging, but waiting. Waiting to see what you'll choose when no one's around. Waiting to see if you'll honor the promises you made to yourself. Waiting to see if you'll rise. Not when it's easy, but when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, and quiet. Your future self isn't impressed by intentions. They're shaped by execution. And every small action you take today is either building that future or betraying it. Your younger self is hoping that the older, wiser version of you turned the pain into purpose, that you didn't waste the chances, that you didn't keep repeating the cycles. They believed you'd become someone strong, not perfect, but powerful, not flawless, but faithful to the process. They're hoping you didn't quit on the dream when it got hard. They're hoping you remembered what mattered. And your current self, they're the one in charge. Right now, this moment, this minute, this breath, You don't need another hype speech. You don't need better weather, a perfect schedule, or another motivational clip. You need to act. You need to pick up the weights, physically, mentally, emotionally. You need to lace up the shoes and show up for your body, your mind, your goals. Open the book. Learn something. Turn off the noise, the distractions, the opinions, the endless scrolling, and tune back into your discipline. Get in the real room, the hard room, the uncomfortable one where growth happens, the one where excuses can't enter. Be the person who doesn't need perfect conditions to make progress. Be the one who moves regardless. That's what real power looks like. Not in how loud you are, but in how reliable you become. Not in what you feel, but in what you do. And when you start stacking those kinds of days, that's when your future thanks you. That's when your past gets honored. And that's when your present becomes unstoppable. So the next time you feel unmotivated, smile. Really, smile. Because that moment right there, that's the training ground. That's where everything real begins. That's the exact spot where most people give up and where the strongest version of you has the chance to be born. When motivation leaves, and it will, you're left with choice. And in that choice lies your power. That's where you separate yourself. That's where you get sharper, stronger, more focused. Not because it's easy, but because it's hard and you chose to move anyway. You're not weak for feeling tired. You're not broken because doubt shows up. That's called being human. Discipline doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to be honest. Honest enough to say, I don't feel like it, but I'll do it anyway. Honest enough to admit your excuses and still refuse to let them win. Every day won't be pretty. Every step won't feel powerful. But every time you move forward, even a single inch, you're winning a war most people never even fight. And here's what you must understand. You are not responsible for how you feel, but you are responsible for what you do next. The world doesn't wait for you to feel ready. Opportunity doesn't knock politely when the stars align. Growth doesn't appear when the timing is perfect. These things arrive when you're already moving, when you've already decided, when your actions have already said yes, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. So when the mood dips, when the doubt creeps in, when your comfort zone whispers for you to stay, remember who you're becoming. Choose action. Choose forward. Choose discipline. Not once, not twice, but every single time it counts, which is usually the moment you feel like quitting. You rise by doing. Not talking, not planning, not waiting for some inner lightning bolt of inspiration to strike. You rise by putting one foot in front of the other, even when your legs shake, even when your heart hesitates, even when everything inside you says, take it easy today. You show up, you move, and you build proof to yourself, from yourself, that you are becoming someone unstoppable. This isn't about some massive transformation overnight. This is about choosing the stronger version of you over and over again, until it's no longer a decision. It's who you are. So the next time motivation doesn't show up, you still will. That's how you rise, relentlessly, quietly, powerfully, one disciplined decision at a time.